So believe it or not, I've actually been struggling to make this review for like a month. This iPad Pro 11-inch keyboard is kind of hard to speak on because I almost wish I bought the bigger 12.9-inch iPad because I feel like I could take better advantage of this keyboard. But because of a few things, because of the price range, and because I feel like it's limiting a few things, I just feel like it's not really worth the price. Hey, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to Too Much Tech. And in today's video, we're going to be reviewing the iPad Pro keyboard case, the Magic Keyboard case, I should say, because this thing it's kind of polarizing. Like, I like it a lot. I like the qualities of it. I like what it does because I feel like it fixes what's wrong with every other keyboard case for the iPad I've ever tried. But at the same time, I just can't get on board with the price tag. I like a lot about this keyboard case, like the build and everything. It's okay. It just uses like this Apple rubberized texture that they use on a lot of their products. It feels kind of like the same thing as the silicone cases, but maybe just a little bit better. Other than that, it's not the greatest build, I would say. I had another review actually planned. I typed up and everything, and it just didn't really sit well with me, so I had to kind of go back to the drawing board. Just for $300 or $350 for the 12.9-inch, I feel like it's more worth it if you go with the bigger iPad, because now you're really going to be treating it as like a desktop or a laptop replacement. But the problem is the case is a little bit limiting. So let's just say that you were going to go that route and use this great keyboard. It's got, decent sound. It's pretty quiet. It feels just like typing on a MacBook Air or MacBook Pro with the current generation of the newer scissor switches. It's got backlight and everything too, so if you want to use it at night, it's no big deal. The shortcuts and everything, I don't really use a Mac on a regular basis. I just kind of use the Alt tab or Command tab, and that's about it. For the rest of it, I just pretty much use the trackpad with the great gestures that you can mirror the same gestures that you would do reaching up to touch your iPad. Just use the trackpad. It just works much easier, and the new cursor is a lot better too. But I feel like you can't really use this as a true desktop replacement, because let's just say that you wanted to use a real mouse for precision or something like that. If you plug your mouse, and let's say that you want to grab some photos or videos or whatever off of a USB drive or off an SD card through the USB port, you would have to unplug your wireless mouse if it doesn't have Bluetooth, and then plug in whatever storage device you have into the iPad directly, because the other USB Type-C port is only for charging. And it kind of sucks that like they don't just limit the speed that you could like transfer data and stuff like that. Like, I wish that, let's just say that if I wanted to use a gaming mouse, I could use that lower speed USB-C port, but unfortunately you can't. You can only use the one that's on the iPad, and you can only use basically one device at a time. So you have to be able to use everything wirelessly or through Wi-Fi, or use cloud storage and all that stuff. But it's like, if you're out and about, you're shooting, and you're sitting at a table and you want to do some editing outside on your iPad, it's like you gotta have like a dongle and all this stuff. It's basically like the MacBook Pro all over again, but just worse, because you really only have one working USB-C. Now you're like, okay, I got an 11-inch iPad Pro. Do I buy the Magic Keyboard? I don't really think it's worth it on the 11-inch. Don't get me wrong, I like using it for about $300. It's more of a luxury than it is a necessity. I don't really have that big of a deal using the digital keyboard on the iPad Pro 11, but more so on the iPad Pro 12.9, I think that the extra $50 for the keyboard case, it still feels like a lot, because now you're turning a $1,000 iPad to almost a $1,400 or $1,500 iPad if you upgrade the storage. You get the newest version, not the 2018 version. And yeah, I feel like it just kind of gets out of hand when you're talking about the pricing for an iPad and the keyboard. And I don't really feel like the keyboard case warrants almost double the price of any other third-party keyboard. Like, if you look at a Logitech or even some other brands, their keyboards are around, $180, maybe $200, where this is almost double. Now, is it better? Of course. You got the magnetic hinge and it moves and all that good stuff, and you can get it at the perfect angle. That's what I really like about the keyboard case. You can get it at a perfect angle, you can use it on your lap comfortably, and you don't have to be tethered to a table because you don't have like some kind of kickstand mechanism that's kind of janky and doesn't feel like a real laptop like this does. So because it's unique in that aspect, obviously I get why we have to pay the Apple tax on it. So ideally, to get the Magic Keyboard and have like the best setup that it actually makes sense to have, honestly speaking, on the 11-inch, it's totally skippable. Now, if you do it the smart way, you get like a refurbished 11-inch for around $600, maybe $650, and then you get the Magic Keyboard. You can have a nice setup for, a small maybe something just to use at school with decent battery life, because this does take a little bit of a hit on your battery life. So maybe keep a charger in your backpack if you're going to be at school longer than like 8 hours, because you're probably going to be around like the 20 or 30% mark by the end of the day. And if you start watching Netflix or YouTube videos or something like that, you're going to start to really push that 10-hour battery life, because the iPad by itself, you'll get the 10 hours. But with the keyboard case, it sips just a little bit. So I don't really think it's worth really getting for the 11-inch. I would just get a nice folio case and use the digital keyboard. I digress. But if you're insistent on having an 11-inch, I would just maybe get a 64 gig or 256 for around $600 to $700. Then you can get the keyboard case for another $300. That will put you right around $1,000, maybe $1,100 total for this combo, which is not necessarily horrible because you still get a very powerful iPad Pro. The 2018 version and the 2020 version, there's not really much difference at all in terms of performance. You just have like the LiDAR cameras, and I think there's like one extra GPU core and a little bit more RAM and a bit of a storage difference, but you can find a 256 gig probably cheaper than you can find a 128 gig 2020 iPad Pro. But on B&H, you can find a 12.9-inch iPad for about $800 to $950 for either the 64 or 256 gig version from 2018 with pretty much very similar display. The camera's a little bit different, but it's got the same exact build because the keyboard case is compatible with both the 2018 and 2020 versions of the iPad. So I don't really think it's worth spending the extra money for really not that much performance, and you're going to be spending hundreds of dollars too. So if you want to get the complete setup with the 12.9-inch iPad, you can do it for just about $1,300, maybe a little bit less, depending on how good of a sale you find. So be sure to stay on the lookout for the best deals on a 12.9-inch iPad Pro, because ideally, to really take advantage of the keyboard case, you're going to want to get the bigger iPad. With the bigger modifiers on the side, it's just a lot easier to hit the enter and delete buttons and all that stuff because they are just a tad bigger than they are on the 11. The 11 to type on will take a little bit of getting used to, but to go to the 12.9-inch, you'll probably feel right at home as long as you're used to the Mac layout on a keyboard. Pretty big topic I forgot to mention while I was filming, but another reason why I ended up reshooting this video, I completely forgot while I was filming. I must have drew a blank or something. But another big gripe that I have with the iPad Pro Smart Keyboard is just that iOS doesn't really have native support for using keyboard and mouse like it works on a gaming PC or even gaming on the Mac. Like, you just don't have those natural inputs. So like, let's say for example, you wanted to play a game on Steam Link. It's really awkward. If you want to play Call of Duty Mobile with a keyboard and mouse, it basically just doesn't work. Like, you have to still touch the screen, and I feel like Apple is really missing that part of the gaming market. Like, if they implement something just so that it works normally to use keyboard and mouse on the iPad, I think that that's an easy way for Apple to kind of get their foot into the door. Since mobile gaming on Apple products is already really big, like with the Apple Arcade and all that good stuff, if they just add normal keyboard and mouse support to games and let you use just the real inputs, I think that's a whole nother thing that Apple can really take over. But otherwise, I do actually like the product. Like I said, the switches are good, the fit and finish is pretty decent. The only thing I don't love about the Apple rubberized silicone type feel is that it just collects too many fingerprints for me. Like, you have to constantly wipe it down. That kind of sucks. But otherwise, the feel is pretty premium for the price tag, and I do think that this is a better alternative to any of the other Apple keyboards, because if you get a Logitech one or some of the other ones, you're pretty much going to be limited to using it on a table, which kind of sucks, and to me defeats the purpose of having a portable device that's supposed to be a laptop replacement. You gotta be able to use it on your lap if you're on the go. And that's all I got for this video, you guys. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to my boy O'Neal for letting me borrow this iPad keyboard case and testing it out for probably a month. This is pretty much just like my long-term review of using this and my opinions on if I would actually spend my money and get this. On the 11-inch, probably not. 12.9, I would heavily consider it. Even though it's really expensive, I would still consider it. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to join my Discord server and you can ask me personally there or ask one of my mods. Actually, I've just added a ton of new stuff in the Discord for like recommendations on monitors and keyboards and mice, and if you want to build a keyboard and all that good stuff. Made a few new channels to make it easier for you guys to get some of your frequently asked questions that maybe I didn't answer in the video specifically, but maybe you want to ask me something one-on-one, or you just want to have a look through there to see if that answers your question. Otherwise, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next video.